Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. The idea is that I'm a writer, I'll talk to you about how I happen to write things, and you're a writer, so you disagree with me in the comments. It's meant to be this, you and me having a natter, writer to writer. This time about how to write reviews. How to write reviews? Read the bloody book, or watch the film, or play the game, or whatever it is. My very first magazine, everybody on the staff had to write reviews of books, and I was actually taken into an editor's office and told off because my book reviews were more negative than everyone else's. But the reason was I was reading the book and no one else was. So long later, that still makes me mad, actually. Well, it's the point of reviewing anything. Well, actually, what is the point of reviewing anything? It is not to show how much you know, but you need to know something about it. You need to be bringing some background, some experience to it. It's not because you're in some way important. The only important thing is the thing you're reviewing, but the only thing that matters is that you have got to read it or see it before some or most, or sometimes often actually everyone, all people for it. That is your perspective. That is the benefit you are bringing to people, and the purpose is that you can give them a clue of whether or not it's worth their time reading. It is only ever going to be a clue. Okay, you can't definitively tell anybody anything, but what happens over time is that people who read your reviews and then go read the book or whatever it is and find they agree with you, they tend to come back, not because you're incredible, but because you have obviously similar tastes. That's it for it. But in this though, there's kind of two parts to this, and I think they're both a bit open to misinterpretation, shall we say. One thing is, it's incredibly common to see a review, particularly a user review on Amazon, but actually anywhere, that it recounts the plot of the book. Really? I mean, why? I struggle with that one. It's filling up words for no purpose. And the other side of it, there is the kind of pontification thing. A review does have to have something about what the thing is about. Okay, I mean, if you were trying to tell me that something was fantastic, but it was about football, forget it. I'm out of here. I don't care how much you loved it. I'm never going to gauge. Did go to an play to play about football once and had a good time, so could be wrong there, but in general, you get the idea. Okay. It has to have some information about what the thing is so that we can see whether we're interested, and then it has to have opinion. But the opinion is the most delicate part of this. A review has got to have opinion. It has got to say whether you liked it or not. But what I think goes wrong is that people think that therefore, because opinions are important in reviews, that therefore their opinion is important. So after a time, you get reviewers who think they are more important than the thing they're reviewing. And are they hell? You know, it's just, if a review you're writing turns out to be about you and your great knowledge about something, then it's pants, and I'm never going to finish reading it and I'm never going to come back to you. Tell me whether or not you liked it, and if you can, tell me why. Now, that's harder than it sounds. I mean, it's quite common, for example, in film reviews, to have someone say that the film was dreadful, but this actor saved it. Well, no, they didn't, because you just told me it was terrible. I can't bear the sort of compartmentalization of things, particularly, this is mostly film reviews and television, bit of theatre as well. This idea that it's all dreadful, but this actor is great. Yes, I've seen things where actors have lifted a material, but it's not like the actor just stood there and made up anything. If the actor is great, there's at least a chance that the character is great, that the dialogue is great, and you as a reviewer are just dismissing all of that and saying it's because they turned up and they were good, saying the words that they made up themselves. You can't break things out. Well, you can. All right, there is an Emmy, isn't there, for hairdressing, and you can have soundtrack albums and you can read scripts. Those are about the only thing that can be taken out and seen by themselves. Costume design, I suppose, as well. There are elements, but a film is a combination of all of these elements for it. So when you are slamming it, except for one bit, I think you're displaying your ignorance about the rest of it and what feeds what. But it still has to be your opinion. So I suppose if you come away thinking this actor was good, all right, example, I don't want to say the name of the writer, but there is a TV drama that was a couple of years ago by a particularly famous stage writer, and I think he's incredible on stage, and I think he's atrocious on television because his dialogue sounds like nobody in the world would ever speak. But Carey Mulligan was one of the actors in it, and her character alone sounded real. Now, was that her? I mean, I admire her, and I think it could be, but there were other actors in the cast that I also admire, and they couldn't make this dialogue work. So did the writer that I nearly mentioned there, did he manage to make her dialogue better? I don't know. But in a review of it, if I were reviewing it, and I have been asked to discuss it at times, I would talk about the ensemble, the creation of the writing, what seemed to me to be obvious difficulties, and say that this bit worked, I felt this bit didn't. I sound a bit reluctant there, and I suppose I am because talking to you I don't want to name names of something that's not related to what we're talking about, but there's also, I'm very conscious that you will have different opinions to me. Part of the whole point of the workshop is that you have different opinions and we talk about it. Okay, I like that. But there's also just, there has to be an honesty in your opinions. So the thing you're reviewing is the thing that matters. You have to have an opinion about it, otherwise you're just writing ad copy about it, and how does that help a reader? Your opinion has to be honest. There's a certain film magazine in the UK, it's very, very famous, that gave Star Wars, The Phantom Menace in 1999, so quite a while ago now. I think it was either 4 or 5 stars, but after a year, it pushed it down a bit to either 3 or 4. They knocked a star off. It felt like sometimes reviewers are telling you what they think you want to hear. Yeah, I thought of another example there, but I definitely can't tell you that one. Let me go back to the honesty thing. I keep talking about book reviews and film reviews, but you know, there are all sorts of reviews and things. I often review iPhone apps, and so one day an iPhone app came along. I'm not going to tell you the name of this one, but mostly because it's quite a while ago and I've simply forgotten, but I was going to give it a bad review. I hate bad reviews because they take far more work than good reviews, particularly in technology, because with technology, are you right that it doesn't do whatever it is, or is it just that you aren't using it right, or something is wrong with your system? And that's what I thought happened with this. Started up this iPhone app and it crashed instantly. You know, you got the splash screen that said the name of it and gone completely. Okay, tried it on a different iPhone. And then, because I was writing for an American publication, but I'm in the UK, I thought, is there some sort of geo-location lock thing going wrong, something? So updated all of my software, tried a VPN, did all sorts of things, and in the end asked 2 colleagues in the States to look at it, and everybody who tried it on any device, instantaneous crash. You go back to the developer, and the developer said, well, it's going to work. Can't you just write about what we tell you it's going to do? No, you can't. Wrote the review, gave it, you have to give star ratings. I hate star ratings. It would have been 0 for this. Simply does not do what it says it does. But the day after that review came out, searching the news feeds, reading stuff, I found it's either 3 or 4 other reviews of exactly the same app, and every one of them was 4 or 5 stars. Every single one of them was glowing. Now, I knew that none of those reviewers can possibly have used the app because the app literally didn't work. I think I'm not saying that they got some kickback from the developer, because the developer certainly didn't offer me anything and I wouldn't have taken it anyway. I'm not saying that they were trying to be, well, they were being dishonest. I can't think of a way around it. I imagine it was a pressure of time for it, which is not an excuse, but it could be a reason. But the upshot is, yes, they got a piece out. Yes, it got some clicks. I read all 3, 4, whatever it was of them. They got me reading, but I will never go back to their app reviews again. Now, I don't expect that they lost many readers over that one, but the readers who then bought the app on the strength of it, how do they feel about this? It's fine to disagree with the reviewer. You must. You're going to. It's inevitable. But for that reviewer to be factually wrong, for that reviewer to be dishonest, no, it's just unbearable. I mentioned about opinion, and the thing that was on my mind was that thing at the start about how I got a lot of criticism for being critical of a book because I read it. There are certain reviewers I read occasionally out of just curiosity because they believe they are important, and just sometimes it's funny. But one reviewer, okay, actually wrote a column rather than a review, so it's related, but it was all based on ego, decrying the fact that there are no new television dramas around, that everything is exactly the same. It's always police procedurals, it's always medical, all this stuff. Entertaining piece, kind of sort of agreed with most of it, but then under a week later, they wrote a piece. No, it can't be because it was weekly. It must have been more than 1 week, but I don't think it was more than one. I'd be two. Call it two. Be generous. They wrote a piece about a particular new show that, in fact, actually was astoundingly different. Broke all sorts of formats, broke the fourth wall, did all sorts of stuff that your ordinary police procedural didn't, and this same person slammed it for not being able to do things right. One more example. This speaks to how you will find that reviewers sometimes write what they think you want to hear or what they're under pressure to hear. I can't give you an example of this, but for instance, I used to write, let's call it a history column, a TV history column somewhere, and it involved looking through lots of television archives. Well, it was fantastic. I loved this. I spent so much more time on that job than it was actually paying, but it was great. And I came to a section that happened to be about a TV series I really liked. In fact, I'll tell you, it's Hearts and Bones by Stuart Harcourt. BBC One show from around 2000 or something. That's when I was doing that column. It would have been in that area. Hearts and Bones, tremendous series. Absolutely loved it. And because I was looking in that period, that certain dates that it had aired, whatever they were, I read all of this magazine's kind of preview review of it. We have watched it and this is what it's like. And they were all glowing, and I'm agreeing completely because that's absolutely right. Tremendous piece of writing. About a year later in real time, I'm just, another volume in the archive for me. It's in the same session. I'm reading it, and now there's a section upcoming, the second season of Hearts and Bones. And the review says, fortunately, all of the problems of the first series have been solved. Bang, shut the book. Because it was the same reviewer. If there had been problems, she should have said it back then, but she didn't. Also, since I really, really liked that first run, telling me that it had been fixed for the second, yeah. Sorry, Stuart Harcourt, I watched the first episode of the second run, and it was substantially weaker, it seemed to me. Again, back to my opinion, but there I wasn't reviewing it, I was just watching, so I didn't watch the rest. I must do. I bought the DVD of both series, but honesty comes through. Honesty prevails, and isn't that a great thing? And this also used to be, I'm giving you examples from the 2000s and things. Since then, everyone's become a reviewer. Everyone on Amazon and everywhere is reviewing everything, and Yelp and things. And everything I've just said to you applies to them. You, as a writer, may well be asked to review things. Read the bloody book. It seems a bit obvious, doesn't it? Is it too obvious to be talking to you about? Quite possibly. Well, I'll tell you what, this is the thing. You and me chatting writer to writer, that's what the comments are for. Please nip down below and say duh to me. Curious to know how you spell that, with a H or an R on the end. But that's it. That's the point of this conversation, and that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Now, write more. Review if you like, but write more. That's the important thing for us. And take care of yourself, hey? It's important. I'll see you soon.